What's going on? Let's talk about Aer City Pack 2 in the Ultra material. I feel like it's gone pretty under the radar compared to the City Pack Pro 2 that's been getting most of the attention for a lot of understandable reasons. Even though I'm a big fan, I will say I actually prefer the City Pack 2 as a dedicated EDC for when I'm carrying solely for myself. I'll share some things I like more in the City Pack 2 over the Pro. I'll get into the different fabric options, make some recommendations based off of different use cases, tell you which one is my favorite of the three. As always, I'll share some nitpicks with the bag, and ultimately I'll share why at its price point of 150 to 200 US dollars, depending on the material that you choose, why I feel like you're getting a crazy amount of value relative to what you're getting with it. So let's get into it. With the admin panel, if you look at the City Pack Pro 2, it only zips up to around here, and then depth-wise it goes to down here. You've got two stretch mesh pockets and a zippered, like concealed compartment there. And then you're pretty limited in what else you would put in there beyond what just fits in those three places. So if you want to put over-the-ear headphones, right? Like these are our AirPod Maxes, they're pretty huge, but even smaller ones, they fit, but they completely block whatever else is there. Same thing if you're putting a tech pouch. This is the Bellroy Compact Tech Kit, smallest tech pouch that I own, blocks everything out there. Whereas on the City Pack 2, it opens up the whole entire way, so you have a lot more vertical volume, and whatever you put in here isn't gonna block like the main things that you have up here. So if you throw your over-the-ear headphones in here, they fit, and the top part of them is still just barely getting in the way of this one, and everything else is easy access. The same applies to layers. If you want to put like bulky gloves in there in the wintertime, beanie, things like that, you can segment away from the main compartment and it fits comfortably in there. Whereas on the Pro, you're kind of stuck using this pocket, but we'll talk about that in a second. Beyond that, you get even more organization. So for people that carry a million small things, you're gonna love it. You got the two stretch mesh pockets that the Pro has, but then you have two narrower slip pockets. I've got cable in one, a pen in the other. You have the same zippered pocket here, but you also have a sleeve back here. So if you want your iPad, easy access. This is an 11-inch iPad Air. Fits great. You can put a notebook or something like that in there. And then you have at the bottom two additional stretch mesh sleeves, which honestly, I just put an extra cable because my wife forgets hers from time to time, but I don't need that many compartments. This is definitely not a bag that you really need to pair with a tech pouch. Given that it is a slim bag, I think, yeah, it's best suited not used with a tech pouch, even though you can absolutely throw one in the main compartment, no problem. The other thing that I love about this bag is the access into the main compartment, this zipper right here. Are you seeing like how effortlessly that is gliding? If you're having a bad day or you're having a lot of anxiety, I mean, this is all the therapy in the world that you need. It's not just the zipper, but it's also the fact that the main compartment zipper and the front admin panel are completely separate, so they don't get in the way of one another. On the Pro, you'll see that the zippers are literally touching, so I can't tell you how many times I've had these zippers like around here and I'm trying to open the front admin panel and I accidentally open the main compartment and vice versa. So it just makes it that much easier getting in and out of the main compartment. But yeah, because of how smooth that zipping experience is, also the front admin panel is incredibly smooth as well. The only two that are a little bit on the stiffer side are the front admin panel and the top quick access one. And I'm sure these will continue to break in over time, but I give it a 9.4 Pilgrim churned butter smoothness rating. That's like right there with Able Carry Max EDC, just slightly below the simple commuter. And part that blows my mind is that this is a PU-coated zipper, same with a simple commuter, and typically they're stiffer. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Ultra is a very structured, rigid fabric. So the zipper just doesn't move at all. Makes it really easy. Also just the way they stitch the zipper on here. Now where the City Pack Pro 2 wins beyond obviously the fact that it is significantly more spacious than the City Pack 2 is the fact that it has a dedicated laptop compartment, which to me is not a huge deal, but I know for a lot of people they like that. But beyond that, if you're looking to carry 2 laptops, I don't, but a lot of people I know travel with a personal and a work. On the Pro, you have like the dedicated laptop sleeve, but then across from it, you have another sleeve that isn't like padded, but it's suspended. So it feels like well protected in there. So you can put 2 laptops as well as a tablet in the main compartment stretch mesh sleeve. Here you're limited to the 1 laptop. And then you have a stretch mesh sleeve in front of it where you can put a tablet or whatever else. The one other thing that the City Pack Pro 2 does a bit better than the standard is it just stands better. This is still a great stander, but because you get more like surface area on the bottom, this one's just a little bit more prone to tipping over. Right now, I actually put in a dop kit in the bottom of this just to make sure it stays standing. But if I take it out, because it's empty and not as stable and it's got a little bit of weight on the front, it still stands better than most bags. So it's not a deal breaker by any means. But if I just like, yeah, like it just doesn't take as much to tilt over. But let's leave it standing for now without, oh, see? Let's put the dop kit in there. Now my nitpicks with the City Pack 2 are the top quick access pocket, which I think is gonna be a pro for most people. Secondly, the fact that I'm not getting full lime green action on the liner. And then lastly, the front stash pocket, which I'm not particularly fond of in either of these 2 bags. The top quick access pocket on the standard City Pack 2 uses really nice stretch mesh, the same stretch mesh that they're using for their front admin slip pockets. And it's got that nice lime green. It's significantly more spacious than the other one, specifically the depth of it. So for people that like to carry a lot of small things, and this is really the best like quick access pocket for small things because of where it's placed on the bag, the fact that it's one quick horizontal zip versus having to go around into the front admin panel, you're gonna love that. Now, the reason why I prefer on the Pro, it's suspended kind of like a hammock and it's really shallow. So to get in there, I only have to put a very small fraction of my fingers. All I carry in here are my AirPods and my sunglasses. Whether I have a few things or a lot of things, I still feel like it's so spacious and so deep that I have to kind of like stick my hand in there quite a bit and jumble around for my things. Whereas here, it's just like they're at my fingertips. And then the other thing, because this one is in the Ultra material, it comes with this zipper PU coated, which makes the zipper teeth a little bit stiffer. So not the one on the back, but this one, yeah, like it just, I have weird like tactile sensitivity. So it's probably ridiculous that I'm saying this, but it feels like a little bit of a Venus flytrap effect for me. I don't love it. Psychologically, when I need to grab my sunglasses out of this guy, it's like, let's do it. Here, it's like, do I really need them? I don't know if I want to have to put my hand in there. So anyways, I'm crazy, but that's one of my nitpicks. Secondly is the fact that on so much of this bag, you've got so much of the gray liner that you get in the Cordura version. This is the most expensive version. On the X-PAC, you get like a bright orange everywhere on the liner. Like here, the stretch mesh, everything is orange inside. It looks great. Candidly, I don't know if it would be overstimulating over time because the orange is definitely a little bit more vibrant than this lime green. That's a very muted, subtle lime green. But here you get the lime green, which looks freaking awesome. You get it here. You get it in this top quick access pocket and then on the inside of this concealed pocket. You also see it here on the backside of the main compartment, but this is the stretch mesh from that top quick access pocket. yeah, I'm just kind of over the gray liners. I love that lime green that they're using, and I just wish that they put it everywhere inside the bag. And then just lastly is the front stash pocket. I've talked about this before in my City Pack Pro 2 review, but it's just a pocket that is pretty deep and slim. You also get a little bit of that like Venus flytrap phrasing happening. And when the bag starts getting a little bit more filled up, this pocket gets increasingly tight and hard to get into. So I think a potential good improvement that would make it a more usable pocket is just not make it as deep where you don't have to stick your hands as far down there. And secondly is just having some expandability with gussets so that it just opens up more, especially on this one. You have more space on the Pro, but I always like, other than your keys, I struggle like putting things in here because things are either too big or too small for the most part, or the things that fit kind of tight, and when the bag starts filling up, it's harder to access them. All right, cool. With that being said, let me pack it out and walk you through the bag. I'll just throw this guy here. You got the front stash pocket here that I already talked about that has a key leash with a nice lime green interior. And then as far as what can fit, this is my smallest tech pouch, the Bellroy Compact Tech Kit. And it fits right now with the bag empty. It would probably struggle once I start putting more things in the main compartment. So I'll leave it out, but just to give you a sense of what fits in there, and it's kind of deep. Then here in the front admin panel, I've got a mobile battery bank in this pocket, little cable here with a pen. Love that they included a pen sleeve. Just prefer pen sleeves that are just using like a standard ripstop or just a more structured material, just because the stretch mesh kind of pulls when you're like trying to slide it in. You just have to make sure that the pen clip isn't getting in the way of the stretch mesh. Here I've got a charging brick in the zippered compartment here. Great spot for a passport. And this is the cable that I use to charge everything, my phone. Like pretty much I've gone like fully USB-C with the exception of my AirPod Maxes, and that's the reason I carry this small USB-C to like a standard USB cable. Here in this sleeve, good spot for a tablet, or I'll throw a notebook in there right now, and then you've got the 2 additional stretch mesh sleeves here. Top quick access pocket, I already talked about it in a little bit more detail as it was one of my nitpicks. You can go here in the video. But you have a healthy amount of space in here for a lot of small things. But yeah, TLDR is I just wish it wasn't so deep, so it's just easier to get my hand in there and find what I'm looking for. On the City Pack 2, you only get 1 water bottle, and it fits up to a 24-ounce Awala, which fortunately that is what I use with my backpack when I'm traveling. You definitely can't fit anything bigger than that. It fits really securely. On the City Pack Pro 2, you can fit slightly bigger water bottles, but the 32-ounce, for example, really struggles getting in there. I feel like you'd have to use it a lot before the elastic just loosens up enough that you can get in more effortlessly, but just one consideration there as well. You got 3 grab handles. This was one of my nitpicks on the City Pack Pro 2. They went from 1 to 3, and I actually like the fact that they added grab handles, but I just feel like for a bag this small, I still use this one, so I would leave it. The reason it's not really a big deal on this one is because on the City Pack Pro 2, the handle itself gets in the way of putting the water bottle in and out. Here, it's really like to the side and barely gets in the way, so it's not as big of a deal. And then moving to the back of the bag, you've got Aer's incredibly comfortable straps, and overall back padding is really well supported, better than the previous generation. When they switched from a horizontally oriented luggage pass-through to a vertical one, they created these like quadrants. It creates these like 4 contact points. Just feels really great. One of the reasons why I just always go back to Aer is because of how comfortable these bags are. For me, slightly behind able carry, but still incredibly comfortable. But in terms of comfort, one thing that someone mentioned on my City Pack Pro 2 video that honestly I hadn't thought of, but it's interesting and they make a valid point, is that it kind of, when it's empty, especially when there's no laptop in there, in the laptop compartment, it like caves in a bit, partially because of the quadrant design along with the shape of it. Admittedly, I have a very arched back, so when the bag is empty, like it's barely making contact with the lower part of my back. But I can see for someone that has a more normal back, how that caving effect could kind of feel interesting. I'm curious if anyone with a City Pack 2 or Pro has experienced that. But when you add a laptop, it gives it structure and it flattens it out. So you're not running into that either way. Straps are incredibly comfortable. You have their magnetic sternum strap clip, which is great. The only downside is that sometimes you'll just like put the bag down and then it'll magnetize on its own. So when you're going to put it back on, you have to like remove it. But I still like the ninja-like swiftness that comes with just clipping it via magnet. And then you've got a piece of webbing here where this just glides up and down. So you can really quickly on the fly adjust how high or low you want it on your bag. Same webbing here. One of my nitpicks with a City Pack Pro 2, it's a very minor one, but just wishing that these straps were just thicker and wider a little, just because when it comes to adjusting these straps, they're not like super thin either, but yeah, I think you'd just get better leverage if it was thicker, and it also, I think, would work better with how overbuilt the rest of the bag is, how chunky and beefy it is. It would probably look even better with bigger straps. And then on the inside of the bag, God, that zipper is wonderful. You'll notice that it's not a clamshell opening. Because this is a bag that you're not going to be using for one bag travel, you don't need a clamshell style opening. You have the dedicated laptop compartment. This is my 13-inch MacBook Air. It fits up to a 16-inch laptop really comfortably, and I think Air is probably the king of just laptop protection. It's just so well padded. It's so far suspended up. Yeah, I feel really good with my laptop in there. And then you've got a stretch mesh sleeve right in front of it, which is where I'd put my tablet. Now, I mentioned that you could put a decent bit of stuff in here and it fits comfortably. It is slim, definitely. Like, you are gonna struggle putting things in here if you don't have it open all the way, but anything that's just like clothing related, this is a medium weight, like synthetic down jacket. I would never pack anything more heavy duty than this in my bag. But when I put it in there, yeah, that takes up like, I don't know, like 30% of the whole entire main compartment. You still have like a comfortable amount of space to throw, if it's like wintertime, you want layers, gloves, beanie. If I would have thrown this in the bottom, but this is like a very overpacked toiletry kit, you can put that in there. Like, I would never carry this much stuff to begin with, but I mean, this would be like pretty much the limit. Where I think you'd be better off going with the City Pack Pro 2 is if you want to carry something bulky like a camera, right? Like, my camera fits in here with a 35mm prime lens, but not super comfortably. So I think that's just like the downside of just the slimmer profile and just the slimmer main compartment in there. Let me actually, yeah, just fully pack it out so you can see how that looks. Pretty sweet. And then, yeah, if you compare it to the City Pack Pro 2, that's completely empty. But yeah, it has a stated volume of 16 liters. Honestly, this feels, I don't even know. I feel like I wish there was like a more universally reliable way of stating volume, because what feels like big or small for 16 liters in comparison to other bags for me is going to look different for everyone relative to the bags that they've owned. But whatever the size is, I would probably put it maybe closer to like 18 liters, especially with the capacity that you get in the front admin panel. 17 to 18 liters around there. And I think it's like more than adequate enough for EDC, and it also keeps me in that minimal mindset. I feel like with this, I just like end up wanting to just carry more stuff unnecessarily just because I have the empty unused space. Now let's get into the material options. Aer makes this a very tough decision because all three are incredible materials: the ballistic nylon, the X-PAC, and the Ultra. I think a few things you should consider as you're trying to pick between one or the other is, first of all, how important is it for your bag to be waterproof? Do you live in a place where it rains a lot and you're commuting, or you just want that peace of mind for when you're traveling? If you don't need that, and keep in mind that the 1680D ballistic nylon still performs really well in the rain. I was using this backpack when I was in Spain for all of March. Granada got more rain than it's had in the last 100 years, so I took advantage, did a rain test. You can watch the video, but the TLDR is I left it in like a 6 out of 10 rain for half an hour, and the inside in a few places got a little bit damp, but considering how long I left it out and how much it was raining and the fact that most people aren't just gonna sit in the rain for that long, I think it did really, really well. Where Cordura I think is a better option than X-PAC or Ultra is the fact that it looks a little bit more professional, the fact that it will outlive X-PAC and Ultra long term, and then just lastly, it feels softer. Look-wise, if you work in an executive business type setting and you want something a little bit more timeless and refined, I think the Cordura just blends in better in that environment. Longevity-wise, if you're the kind of person that buys one backpack every like 6 to 8 years, you feel like you're spending a lot of money, which you are, and you just want to make sure it lasts as long as possible, the 1680D ballistic nylon is tried and true. X-PAC and Ultra are phenomenal materials. It's really impressive. They are like ultra high molecular weight fibers, which is just a fancy way of saying that they are very strong. They're literally like 10 to 15 times stronger than steel per gram. They're very light and they're waterproof. But the way they're made in a similar fashion is they essentially like weave these fibers, they laminate them with a very fancy plastic to make it even stronger, as well as like a backing to make it waterproof. So even though it gives it really cool properties, the reason why it doesn't last as long is because over time, heat and humidity will cause delamination. You'll see it in the forms of the material peeling off. The PU coating is not that material, but you get full PU coated zippers on both the X-PAC and the Ultra, whereas here you get 3 of the 5 non-PU coated, also peeling of the zippers, and then on the X-PAC in particular, you get this kind of like pimpling effect. So if you want to get as much mileage as possible out of it, this is going to be your 1997 Toyota Land Cruiser. And then lastly, to the touch, this is smooth and also like soft, a lot more malleable, whereas Ultra and X-PAC are just stiffer, crunchier materials. The only downside with the Cordura, beyond the fact that it's a little heavier and not waterproof, I still feel like it's overkill from a strength standpoint, is the fact that when it gets dirty, it's just harder to clean off, whereas Ultra and X-PAC in particular, which is even smoother, it scuffs easily, but it also cleans off very, very easily. Now, if you live in a place where it rains a lot, or you just want to make sure that your bag is waterproof given the different options, you don't mind spending a little bit more money, and you're just trying to decide between X-PAC and Ultra, a few considerations. Ultra, one thing I like is the fact that when it scuffs, the combination of the wrinkled texture on the material, the fact that it's not like black when you look at it up close, it's like a very dark gray. It looks like carbon fiber, like a soft carbon fiber, like snake skin, which is, I hate snakes. And now, I feel like it's probably, I had a little slime in there. I've never touched a snake in my life, but that's probably what it feels like. But the contrast of all of those things going on when you scuff it, I took it against the wall and I purposely just scratched it up, and you could barely notice the scuffs. I didn't feel compelled to take them off, whereas on X-PAC, like I said, it scuffs very easily. So if you don't want to worry about like keeping your bag clean, but you know that little scuff is going to drive you crazy, the maintenance on this guy is going to be a lot easier. The other thing that the Ultra technically wins on is if you're the type of person that you just want the best specs, you don't care about the look, you're the kind of person that goes for the 5090 graphics card or buys the Jeep Wrangler with the most expensive off-roading package that you'll probably never push past 5 to 10% of what it's capable of doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're like, hey, I can afford it and I just want it to be as absolutely bomb-proof as possible, even though X-PAC and Ultra are both equally waterproof, technically the Ultra is a little bit lighter. It has better abrasion resistance and tear strength. But with that being said, either of these two materials are still going to be overkill. Kind of in a delightful way, like Aer is known for doing that. But for what these bags are intended to be used for and what 99% of people will be using them for, even X-PAC is going to be overkill. These are materials that are used in high performance racing sailboats. They've now adapted this in ultralight tents as well as frameless ultralight backpacking backpacks. And in those scenarios, every single gram counts a lot more, and also just having a really strong fabric that's going to keep you waterproof when you're outdoors where you really have nowhere to go has more value to it. So I definitely wouldn't choose one over the other because of the specs. I would really choose based off of the looks, which is why I actually, if I were to do it again, I would go with the X-PAC, mainly because I prefer how it looks over the Ultra. The Ultra has definitely grown on me, although this like snake realization is taking one step back in that direction. The X-PAC just looks more sleek. It's smooth. The grid lines are a little bit more visible. It is annoying that it scuffs easier, but I do think it's also a nice in-between, right? Where you want those nice properties, but you also want to use it in a professional setting. The X-PAC still works in a professional setting better than the Ultra, in my opinion. The Ultra just looks a lot more technical, and then you've got that wrinkled paper mache texture effect going on that I feel like takes away a little bit from the professional look. And I also live in Utah where people are rocking their like hyper light Dyneema backpacks. I have that association with like this looking material, which it looks like Dyneema, as being a very like technical hiking type material. The other thing I really like about the X-PAC is the fact that they added an all orange interior. I like the lime green a little bit more than the orange, but it would have been nice just to get it all across the bag like they did with the X-PAC. It gives it more personality. And yeah, if you have other bags that are already gray on the inside, even more of a reason to get the X-PAC. And you also save 20 bucks, which is nice. And yes, even though delamination is inevitable with X-PAC, I'd still go with the X-PAC, mainly because A, I live in a dry climate where it's only hot for a couple months of the year. And secondly, like, I have more than one bag. I really like bags. With my just natural rotation of bags, I feel like it's going to take a very, very long time before I start seeing any delamination. I have other bags in X-PAC that have gotten quite a bit of use, and I have yet to experience any X-PAC, but I know it is very much a thing. So final thoughts, in the most expensive version, the Ultra, this bag is $199 compared to $259 for the City Pack Pro 2. The X-PAC is $179 versus $239, and then in Cordura it's $149 versus $209, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a $50 difference between the bags for both the Cordura and the Ultra, and there's actually a $60 difference between the X-PAC versions in the two different bags. Another reason to maybe go with the X-PAC. At that price point for an EDC that checks off so many boxes for me, the overall organization, the fact that it stands on its own, vertically oriented luggage pass-through, top-down access, like super impressive build quality using a crazy material like Ultra, and then being able to get that for under $200 compared to a lot of the bags that are out on the market, I think it's a really, really good option if all of those things are important for you. To wrap up, if you are getting one bag that's going to do everything for you in your life, go with the City Pack Pro 2. If you're semi-minimal with what you carry, you're really just caring for yourself and you're never gonna use it for one bag travel or like putting shoes for like a gym bag, then I would go with the City Pack 2, especially if you're the kind of person that is a little further down the addicting rabbit hole of bags, where you have found the value in just having a specific bag for a specific scenario that's gonna be perfectly optimized for that. I think this is a great bag to have in your overall arsenal for that semi-minimal tech carry day bag when traveling backpack. And then lastly, between the materials, if you need it to be waterproof and you're trying to decide between X-PAC and Ultra, they're both crazy overbuilt, even though technically this one is a little stronger and a little lighter. Get whichever one looks better for you. If you don't care about those things and you want to make sure that you're not drawing any attention because you're going to be using it in a much more professional setting, then I would lean towards the Cordura, which is also the cheapest option. Other than that, best of luck and cheers.